Hello, I'm Aditya. I'm from the mechanical engineering branch and I'm currently in my fourth year. This video is to help you with the placement process that happens at IIT Bhilai. I recently got placed in L&T through the placement cell activities of the college, and I'm going to be drawing upon that experience and the experience of my friends to help you with queries that you might have regarding this entire thing. So topics like the kind of preparation that is required, the kind of companies that are going to be coming, the kind of expectations you should have, both in terms of packages as well as testing process, interview questions, etc., are going to be some of the topics that will be addressed throughout the course of this video. So how this is going to work is that the questions are going to come up on the screen and then I'm going to answer them one by one. So if your question happens to be part of the ones that are displayed, then you get your solution right after the question is shown. Being from the mechanical branch, I don't really need to articulate how I was feeling about the placements before the season actually started. The mechanical branch is not really well known for flashy jobs and high packages. So like a lot of my batchmates, I was under the assumption that companies are not going to come and we'd be lucky to get even a couple of companies actually looking for mechanical graduates. But as it turns out, the assumption was not entirely accurate. There were companies that were actually looking for trainees in mechanical areas like fluid mechanics or solid mechanics, etc., etc. So companies like L&T and Eliation actually came to our campus looking for mechanical specific jobs, and thus even we got a fair opportunity to compete for different placements. Obviously the number of jobs was not as high as that of branches like CS, but it did help break the assumption that you're not going to get a job if you are joining in the mechanical branch. So to all those people who are scared of not getting the chance to even participate for a company, you don't really need to worry. There will be a company that will come for your branch and will be looking for trainees and people who have expertise in the kind of subjects that you study. So I'd suggest to not worry about whether companies are going to come or not, and just to focus on your preparation, right? Because someone or the other will come about, and when they do come, you'll need to be prepared so that they actually find it lucrative to take you in as a trainee or in a beginning starting position. To evaluate the effectiveness of the academic curriculum on your placements and interviews, what we first need to know is what companies are actually looking for. Considering that you are fresh graduates out of a bachelor's program and you most likely do not have any kind of real work experience apart from internships, if any, companies know that too, and thus they are looking for a solid grasp of the fundamentals, the basics. The intricate parts or the specific parts of the work that the company itself does will be taught to you. They will train you regarding those aspects. So all they're looking for is a solid grasp of the basics and an eagerness to learn. Now, keeping that in mind, the academic curriculum turns out to be pretty important, because in a bachelor level course, what you are learning is the basics of your particular branch. So talking from the mechanical perspective, you'll be learning about the basics of solid mechanics, beam analysis, structures, dynamic loads, fluid mechanics, and then pumps, turbines, or material science, and making different alloys, the alloy properties, and many more topics. So your understanding in these areas is what the company is looking for, because once you have a solid grasp of these basics, it's pretty easy to build upon it to train you to do the specific kind of work that the company requires you to do. And thus it would be important for you to pay attention and put in effort into your academic curriculum, because those basics are what companies will test you upon. And if you have a solid grasp of them from the start, you won't have to scramble during a preparation to memorize concepts or memorize definitions or stuff like that before your interviews, and you would actually be pretty comfortable in preparing. Part of this question was already addressed earlier regarding your knowledge of basics and how that would be important in your interviews. So I'll be extending upon that and saying that apart from all the academic stuff, you would require a good knowledge of different projects that you have done and the aspects of the work that you would have done in your internships, if there are any. Apart from all of this, it is also likely that the company would test you upon non-technical aspects like your speaking skills, your communication skills, and how you present yourself. So these areas are also pretty important. Pretty much every company has an HR round, or they would include HR kind of questions in their regular interviews. And so it's really important to keep both sides pretty prepared. Like, you need to be strong technically, and at the same time you need to be pretty confident and be able to express yourself, and because that is crucial in getting your point across and actually showing your interviewers that you are a capable person and you would be an asset to their company, which means they should hire you. So I'm going to approach this question from different angles. So first, I'm going to be talking from my personal experience as to how my internship helped me, and then later on I'll go into a little general detail on how internships in general can help you. So my summer internship, was at a branch of DRDO, which is the High Energy Materials Laboratory in Pune. And my work was related to material science, where I had to analyze some materials for special purpose machines that they use in their workshops. So this experience helped me primarily because I got exposed to different kinds of machines that are typically used in both research as well as industrial setups. So, large lathes, large vertical milling machines, plasma cutters, and a myriad of other machines were present in their workshops, and I got direct exposure to them. I got to see them in operation. I got to ask the technicians that work there as to the different aspects of operating those machines, and then from the scientists there, got an idea of the kind of projects that they work on and their thought process and what goes into actually developing a solution for the problems that they get. All of these are crucial for companies as well, because these kind of skills are used by companies to solve problems of their own or to develop new things that could make them more profits. So from the L&T perspective, for example, they deal with these kind of machines too. They use these kind of machines a lot, and thus having prior experience of at least seeing those machines in operation was a definite help in the placement, because they were getting a student who already had some amount of experience with those machines. So that part of the training at least would be saved, and they could maybe concentrate on teaching something further. Now, this was from my perspective. In general, internships can vary wildly. So there can be primarily theoretical internships that are based on research work, or there might be other internships that are based more on industrial work. There might also be some internships which are kind of a mixture of the two. Now, all of these types contribute something or the other. So industrial type internships will contribute practical knowledge and machine knowledge that will usually be required by companies that deal with those kind of machines or those kind of operations. On the other hand, research internships are important in terms of theoretical knowledge, and thus would be attractive for the research divisions of different companies like TCS, for example. So if a research company comes along and you have a research internship under your belt, that would be a major asset for you, because the company knows now that you have some research experience under your belt, and thus it would make more sense to take you over some other student who's also applying but does not have research experience. So in short, this is how internships typically help. So as long as you have a good grasp of what you actually did, and you have a good grasp of how that experience would help you in the particular XYZ company that you're applying for, it should be a major asset for you, and it will set you apart from your competitors, in this case your fellow students. Projects are typically a great way for a company to understand the kind of work that you have put in from your side during your college life, because courses are part of the curriculum that you have to do. So what you learn during the courses will be something that is required to be done by you. On the other hand, projects are something that you do from your own side and typically display your interest in a particular field of whichever branch you are studying in. The projects also give you a chance to apply the theoretical stuff that you have learned into a practical sphere and actually deal with the different problems that may arise when you're trying to solve a particular issue. So since companies know this, they usually ask about the different projects that you have done during the course of your academic years in the college. From these projects, they get an idea of the amount of work that you have put in, the kind of concepts that you would likely be familiar with after having completed those projects, and the level of dedication that you would likely display towards the different jobs that are given to you to complete by the company. In my case, we had certain independent projects that we had to do during our initial years, and we used a variety of techniques to complete those projects, which includes different machining techniques, turning techniques, laser cutting, etc., etc. Thus, later on, when interviews came about for different companies, they asked about these projects, and we were able to tell them about the different equipment that we used and the different concepts that we used to complete our projects. And thus, the interviewers got an idea about which topics we were likely familiar with, and if relevant, which machines that we were familiar with that would be required later on during the job. And thus, I would say, if you have a chance to do a particular project, maybe under a professor or of your own volition under your own time, it would be a good idea to look for it and to actually take up such opportunities, because such projects can again set you apart from your competitors for a job, just like how internships can do, because that experience is pretty unique for you, and thus it gives a skill set that is again pretty unique for you. Preparation time is highly variable in terms of different companies because of the variety of actual companies that come across during your placement season. So companies like L&T typically look for general basics and fundamentals of the particular branch that you're studying, which means your preparation would likely be a brushing up of all the concepts that you have already learned throughout the years before. And thus, the preparation for this is not exactly a targeted kind of preparation, which means it should be a gradual process that starts pretty early. So for example, if you are in your third year and if the placement season is slated to start from the second half of the third year, then your preparation should be a gradual brushing up of the concepts that you have learned since the first year, and it can start as early as the beginning of the third year or even during the second year itself. Making it gradual has the benefit of not putting a lot of pressure on you at any single point of time and making the entire prep process very relaxed. And the gradual brushing up also helps you retain the concepts longer and thus understand them better. And believe me, understanding is extremely important, much more than the number of concepts that you've grasped. The depth of understanding of each concept can help you a lot more. Now, there are other companies that are not like this. For example, Eliation was a company that came again from mechanical engineering, but what they were looking for was not general basics or general fundamentals. They were very specifically looking for CAD related applications, which means finite element methods, computational fluid dynamics, and all of the works. So they were looking for the various kinds of simulation softwares that are used by mechanical engineers to solve different problems, and they were looking for deep understanding of that particular field. And thus, targeted companies like that require very targeted preparation. Now, of course, it's difficult to know about this from long before because there is no way to actually guess which companies come, especially for institutes that are relatively new, like IIT Bhilai. Thus, for these kind of companies, the best thing you can do is to start your preparation right when the company first offers particular jobs, right? So it can be that their qualifying test has not even started, but you should start preparation of that particular topic if you're particularly interested in joining that company. So in terms of elation, for example, if later on elation comes again and they first give out their postings of what they're looking for, then you should start preparation of CAD or FEM or CFD related concepts right away. And that targeted preparation can be pretty stressful because you would have to cover a lot of different concepts in a compressed amount of time. But it's pretty hard to escape it, and there's no easy way out in that case because there's just no way to know long before as to which company is coming. By some special circumstance, if you come to know beforehand that so and so company will be coming maybe next year or the year after that, and thus if you have a lot of time in advance, then the previous plan of a gradual form of preparation in that particular field can still be applied. But in general, there is no one size fits all approach for preparation, and thus it really depends upon the companies that come and go and which ones you are particularly looking for. There is a large variety of online resources that could help you during your placement prep, and the reason why online resources are so important is because you can quickly get a compressed collection of a wide variety of topics that you would otherwise have to refer tens of different books to get. So in terms of what resources specifically to use, I would suggest guidebooks or cheat guidebooks that typically have the fundamentals of different concepts compressed into one small guide. Those kind of books are typically extremely helpful because they are perfect for giving you an overall view of all of the topics that you need to know for a particular interview. Now, this is especially applicable in companies that are looking for branch basics or fundamentals, like L&T, for example. I myself used different cheat books online which had collections of different mechanical engineering topics in very concise form, and I used them to quickly brush up on different concepts that I had either forgotten or wasn't familiar with or hadn't learned at all throughout the course of my studies at the college. And they were immensely helpful in helping me revise and study for the different interviews that I faced. So these are particularly useful, and apart from books, there are also videos of different topics or different questions that you can find on YouTube or other study-based websites that can also help you, because videos will give you a lot of in-depth knowledge of the particular topic that you are searching for. So you would have people that are actually explaining how to do a particular problem, or how to derive a particular formula, or why you require a particular theorem, or anything on those lines. And thus I would say that the internet is a really powerful resource, and if you use it right, you can really push yourself forward in your placement preparation. In my experience, the TNP cell, or the training and placement cell, definitely did not leave any stone unturned in terms of the effort that they put for bringing companies over. They definitely reached out to all the contacts that they possibly could, which were obtained from different professors or different students, or even the alumni students, which is our senior batch, and tried to contact as many companies as possible to come to our campus and to try to recruit people. They also held different programs that were designed to train students for different aspects of the selection process, like GDs, which are group discussions, or technical interviews, or non-technical interviews, etc., etc. And all of these prior experiences definitely helped us a lot in removing the unfamiliarity of these particular procedures. And thus, when we faced them again for the company's placement process, we weren't taken by surprise or taken aback. And we were able to deal with it a lot easier because of this kind of experience. And thus, I, I, on a personal note, I'm definitely thankful to the TNP cell for all the efforts that they had put in, and to all the future aspirants who are looking for different jobs. I can assure you that the cell would definitely be putting every single effort possible from their side in order to help you get a job. So the only thing left to do would be for you to do your part and prepare well, and thus finish the game on a high note and get placed in a company that interests you.